Hi, Maller Militia and listeners around the world. This is the special YouTube version of the Ben Maller Show, which we'll call the 6th Hour. The 6 hours will consist of listener stories and my own with a nod to Art Bell and George Noory. And full disclosure, I just fired Daniel Garide, better known as Danny G Radio, so I'll be doing this alone. Let's get started. All right, settle in close, folks, and dim those lights, because Ben Maller's got a story for you tonight that isn't about blown leads or terrible officiating. This one's about the FSR building itself and the cold, unblinking eyes that watch us from the shadows. The silent producer in Studio B. You hear the whispers, right? Especially late at night when the cleaning crew's gone and it's just the overnight crew, the flickering fluorescent lights, and the hum of the old equipment. They say there's a ghost in Studio B. Not a loud banging kind of ghost, but a quiet one, a watcher. His name, or what they say his name was Marty. Marty was an old school producer. Been with the network since forever, back when Fox Sports Radio was just a twinkle in some executive's eye. Marty lived for radio. And he was one of those guys who'd sleep on the pull-out couch in the green room rather than go home, just to make sure the morning show got on air without a hitch. He knew every piece of equipment, every cue, every soundbite. He practically was the building. One night, during a particularly grueling overnight shift, you know the kind, where the callers are all lunatics and the news is drier than a forgotten cracker, Marty just slumped over his mixing board. Heart attack. Right there in Studio B. Didn't even make a sound. They found him in the morning, headset still on, a half-empty coffee cup beside him. Now, most people would say that's just a sad story, but things started happening. Little things at first. The mixing board in Studio B would sometimes flicker, even when it was turned off. A mic would suddenly cut out, only to pop back on a second later. You'd be talking on air, and you'd swear you'd hear a faint, almost inaudible click, as if someone was trying to cue you. But it gets weirder. And several times, the overnight host, myself included, though I'll deny it under oath, have sworn they've seen a figure in the control room glass, just a faint reflection, a shadowy shape behind them. Always standing where Marty used to stand, hands clasped behind his back, watching the board. And when you spin around, there's nothing. Just the empty chair and the glow of the monitors. The eeriest thing, sometimes when a host is really flubbing a segment or the audio's messed up, you can feel a distinct cold spot right behind your neck, even in a warm room. It's like a shiver, a silent judgment. And sometimes you'll hear the faintest sigh over the headphones, almost imperceptible, like a producer eternally disappointed, just shaking his head at the amateur hour. They say Marty never left because he couldn't bear to abandon his show. He's still there watching over Studio B, a silent, spectral producer, making sure the trains run on time, even from the great beyond. So next time you're listening late at night and you hear a little static or a slight pause, just know it might not be the equipment. It might just be Marty still producing his last great show. Makes you wonder who else is listening, doesn't it? All right, folks, that's all for Marty, but I'm pretty sure if there's one, there must be a handful all over FSR. This place hasn't been blessed or cleansed or anything since the last poltergeist haunting. Now, for our sponsors, it is the great Lawrence Levy, better known as Marlon's Man. You may have known that we're friends, so I'd like to thank him for his support. Well, he's having a contest for 1, 2, or 10 lucky ladies to be his companions to baseball games all over the nation. If you're interested, please sign up at marlonsmansluckycompanion.com. Good luck. Overall, the qualification is you have to be gorgeous. If you're ugly, has a little bit of flaws, or fat, don't bother signing up. I guess that's why he keeps asking me to games. I'm a gorgeous-looking man. All right, back again, folks. Ben Maller here, pulling you into the darker corners of my mind. Because sometimes the scariest things aren't in an old building. Sometimes they're in your own damn head. And sometimes they follow you out. It started a few years back, subtle at first. Just a feeling. You know, that prickle on the back of your neck when you're alone in a room. Just knowing you're not alone. It always happens in the darkest corner of the room, just outside the direct light. A shadow deeper than any other shadow that seems to hold a shape. Then I started seeing her. Not a full figure, not like a white sheet floating around. No, this is different. It's a shadow person, a void really, where light just refuses to exist. But within that void, you can just make out the outline of an old woman. Bent shoulders and a slight stoop, almost like she's clutching something to her chest. And a bonnet, always a bonnet. It's the most distinct part of her, that old-fashioned head covering, just a darker patch against the darkness. She never moves, never speaks, just watches from the corner of the bedroom when I'm trying to fall asleep. From the hallway, when I get up for a glass of water, she's just there, a silent, observing presence. And when I try to focus to really see her, she just isn't. Like a trick of the light, but it feels too real to be just that. But the worst part, she doesn't just haunt my waking hours. She's found her way into my dreams. That's where she truly comes alive, or perhaps where she truly reveals herself. My dreams used to be about sports, about failing spectacularly, about being trapped in a broadcast booth with a broken microphone. Now, they're different. They're claustrophobic. I'm always in a small room, poorly lit, and she's there, always in the darkest corner. Sometimes she's just watching, her shadowy form a heavy weight on the atmosphere of the dream. Other times she'll slowly, painfully slowly begin to move. A shuffle of a foot, the barest tilt of her bonneted head, and the air in the dream gets colder, heavier. I can feel the dread building, a physical pressure in my chest. I try to scream, but no sound comes out. I try to move, but my limbs are like lead. And then, just before I wake up in a cold sweat, she'll reach out, not with a hand you can see, but with a tendril of that profound darkness. It feels like an icy whisper against my face, a touch that seeps into my very bones. And I wake up with that feeling of absolute terror, my heart hammering, the room still feeling too small, too dark. My wife, bless her heart, tries to tell me it's stress, too much late-night pizza, but she doesn't see the way the shadows deepen in our bedroom. She doesn't feel the chill when I turn out the light. She doesn't know the old woman in the bonnet is still there, waiting for me to close my eyes. So, yeah, some ghosts don't rattle chains. Some just watch and wait. Think about that when you're trying to get some sleep tonight. Our next sponsor comes from the land down under, Aussie Guy and Aussie Waz. Remember the infamous Australia Emu War? Well, they're back. There are so many emus there that the government is paying its citizens to kill and process them. Well, Aussie Guy and Aussie Waz have so much emu meat that they want to share with the world. Emu leg bones 2-pack are 20% off. If you use the promo code Bill Miller, you'll get an additional 35% off when you buy the whole bird. Visit them on X, formerly known as Twitter, and tell them that Ben Maller sent you. Well, this is it for the inaugural episode of the 6th Hour. Thank you for listening, and next time we'll go over your conspiracy theories and or ghost stories. Goodbye.